welcome to For the Birds with Richard Cole. Richard, it's great to see you again.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Yeah, so
Like it's been too long.
absolutely.
It's been 30 days. So,
It
yeah.
has been. That's way too long. So we want to encourage everybody to ask your questions of our resident expert. Richard, of course, founded Cole's Wild Bird Company out of a love for birds, so he knows incredible amount and can help you enjoy the birds even more. We've got a great show today, don't we?
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah.
Action-packed.
We're
Fun-filled.
We are going to talk about how to attract more birds to your yard, all the kind of things that you need to do. We're also going to talk about things that you don't want to do when you're trying to attract birds. And then we're going to talk a little bit about nesting, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Richard has
I'm
all
ready.
kinds of ideas to talk about nesting. We're going to show some of the winter pictures that many of you have sent in, and we'll talk about those birds hitting the windows.
That's a hot topic for a lot of people.
It really
and
is.
it's stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's stressful.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for joining. If you're just watching, please share it out on your Facebook or on your YouTube channel. And then also, we'd love to invite you to just put in where you're watching, where you live and that kind of thing in the comments. Again, if you have any questions, be sure to ask Richard and we'll get to those questions. So let's start with, how do you attract the birds? What are the things you need to have?
You know, the birds are all around us. They're out there. Everywhere you go, you see birds. You start paying attention, you'll be amazed at how many birds you'll actually see just driving around looking just in daily life. You don't notice them until you start focusing and looking for them. So they're out there, but it's much nicer to have them really close in your backyard so you can actually see them up close, watch their activities. And when they're just dispersed around the landscape, and why they disperse, because they're looking for food. When it gets right down to it, looking for food. And if there's no food in a particular area, they won't be there often. They'll come through looking for it and moving on.
And it's not just food, it's a variety of food that's going to help you too, right?
It is, and most people don't think about it, but birds don't just eat bird seed. And so many times, most of their diet is composed of insects,
Yeah.
berries, pieces of fresh vegetation. You'll see them sometimes take off new buds in the springtime when food's scarce. They'll go start eating buds off of trees and flowers because it's tender.
And even if they do eat seed, though, they like to have that variety, right? Isn't that why Cole's has so many blends?
Yes, and it does several things. It gives them different choices.
Right.
They seem to have an innate ability to pick what they need at certain times.
And like you said, these are the Cole's suet kibbles you're looking at right now in one of the feeders where you can really see the birds easily, and it also protects the seeds with the dome on it. And this is Richard's actual backyard, right?
Yeah, and I have learned to love that little feeder,
Yeah.
the little open bowl, and the suet kibbles. It's just a different way to present food. It's like suet. It's not a suet cake. You can put it in there. You can put other things in there with it, like the mealworms. You can put some sunflower meats in there with it, and the birds love it. And it's one of my favorite feeders. I've got 3 or 4 feeders around the yard, but I love the little bowl feeder with the kibbles in it.
Well, and I like the wood feeders. One of the things I think that is so important is that the feeders that you have that look like they're naturally part of the environment, those are going to attract a more variety of birds, right?
It may, and it looks nice. Now, here's a wood feeder, but it's really a platform. And that's another one of my feeders that I like, because anybody can hop into it, including the squirrels. And admittedly, that's kind of the squirrel diner in my yard. Because you can see they can come right across the railing, hop right into the feeder, and that's fine. They get their stuff there. They can't get into some of my feeders, and the ones they could get into, I'll generally have Cole's hot meats in there, which are sun meats infused with chili pepper oil, so it's a little too hot for them to eat. So I stay away from it. So I kind of keep them away.
So a variety of food, a variety of feeders, right?
Yes.
And then also, let's talk about some of the other things that they need. So it's not just food, but what else can you do?
Like people, not that they're people, but we have to have food, we have to have water, we have to have habitat, cover, protection, whatever you want to call it, to survive. So birds are no different, animals are no different. They need these 3 things. So you might have lush vegetation all over the place and things like this. You're not going to have a lot of birds, because they have to scatter around to get the food scattered all through this habitat.
And all these woods in your backyard and all the plants give them great cover, right?
It does, and it's funny. Whenever you're in woods or in forests, you won't notice as many birds as you do in people's backyards because, one, you can't see them as well in the forest, but two, the food is so widely dispersed, they have to be on the look all the time. In neighborhoods around feeders, they have to come to that one spot to get the reliable source of food. That's why feeders attract birds so well. It's because, hey, it's the McDonald's on the corner. They can see it, they can find it, and hopefully it's reliably filled with something they like to eat.
So you've said, and Richard was saying earlier, you want to be sure that you have vegetation around, but maybe not so close that like a cat or
Exactly.
a predator can get to them.
Yeah, if you're going to have a feeder, and we were talking about how do you attract birds to your yard? Well, a feeder. You need to put some food out for them. They want that. They like water too, but they can find water all over.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have hit water really quick. Have it in your yard. Have it make noise. Bird bath is great, and they'll find it and use it. There you go. There's some noise making water right there. And you can also have a little gurgling thing in the water, and the birds hear that noise, and they know there's a stream or something. They go to bathe in it. I have birds bathing in the stream there all the time, and that's an artificial stream, by the way. And
they'll bathe in it even in winter, correct?
yeah, they have to keep their feathers clean
Yeah.
to stay warm. And it's amazing to watch birds sitting in a little open spot in an iced-over bird bath, bathing in freezing weather. And they'll do that, but they need to keep those feathers clean,
Right.
light, and fluffy. When they get soiled, oiled, matted down, they're not good insulators.
So they need it for just to stay hydrated. They need it just like we do.
And stay clean.
And then they need it to stay
Yep.
clean. So food, shelter, native plants, are they better than
Native-
non-native?
Native plants, I don't think it matters too much. It's nice. I love native plants. I have most of the
Yeah.
plants I put in the yard are native plants. But as far as the birds go, as long as they have some shelter from
Yeah.
a little leafy area they can jump into to stay away
Yeah.
from predators, and there's not a lot of food on a lot of plants for them, unless there's berries and things. They love poison ivy, which is I always found fascinating.
Really?
Yeah, in the fall time, the poison ivy berries are ripe. They eat them.
Right.
I'm not going to try it because I think it's pretty dangerous. They don't seem to affect them.
Wow, that's interesting.
So that's a native plant if you'd like to plant some poison ivy for the berries. But yeah, some of your fall berries that you could put some bushes out for that would make some
Yeah.
natural food. But sunflower meats and things like that you'll put out, store-bought variety kind of food is also very good for them.
So I just wanted to let you know that Kristen is watching from Sweet Treats Bird Supply in Columbiana, Alabama. So
Well, hello.
thank you. Thanks for joining us,
Yeah.
Kristen Ann. So let's talk about what to avoid. What are the things you want to avoid if you want to attract birds to your yard?
Well, I think to me, the first thing to avoid, there's two ways to look at it. I'll get the most obvious. Do not set up your bird feeder to attract birds as prey for neighborhood cats. It's that simple. Nothing against cats. I love cats. But they like birds. They're good predators. They're ferocious predators. Just be careful with putting your bird feeder. Two things to remember. Don't have a bird feeder where food falls on the ground that's close to low bushes, close to that area. The cats will hide behind there and jump right out and the birds don't have a chance. You just need to give that distance so the birds can have warning. I've recommended to a lot of people who have low bushes near their feeders, just put some chicken wire that you can hardly see, just tuck it in around the base of those plants on the feeder side. The cat can't run through the bush to get to the birds out. It'd have to come around and give the birds a chance.
Oh, gosh, that's
And
a
you
great
can't say, I
idea.
spray it a little bit with some camouflage black paint and just tuck the wire in around the bottom of the bush. You won't see it, and it'll stop cats.
Yeah.
And
And if you have a cat, just
you
don't
have a
feed the
cat,
birds.
yeah.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, unless you can keep it very controlled, like on your back porch where the seed's not out on the ground, or
Yes.
a place where a cat can get to it, and it'll be fine.
Right. They do like to, and when they're training their babies to fly, they're such
Yeah.
prey.
And most of the birds, can't fly when they first come out of the nest, and people,
Right.
they freak out when they see them on the ground, but that's pretty natural. Most of them won't just take off out of the nest. They'll go and they'll hit the ground and they'll figure it out. It takes
Right.
them a couple hours to figure out they can actually fly.
And we don't want them around any kitties.
Yeah.
So let's talk about birds hitting windows. A few of our viewers have seen this, and we got some video from a couple of Kohl's customers, and they sent us this. This is a ruby. Is this a ruby
Ruby
crown
crown kinglet?
kinglet? And this. Yeah, ruby crown kinglet fighting its reflection. So tell us what's going on
You
here.
just said the key word. It's supposed to, the bird's hitting the window, and he's fighting.
Yes.
Wait a minute, it's not just, there's two ways birds hit windows. An accidental crash, thinking there's nothing there, and it's fighting. What's it fighting?
Yes.
It's reflection. This happens mostly in the spring and fall when the sunlight's about the right amount of time during the day. It appears to be mating season, territorial season, and they're trying to get the other birds out of their territory. So it's a territorial response to flush away another bird. You'll see males and females doing this, and this is very typical behavior. Sit on the windowsill, go up and hit the bird, just fly against it, peck at it. Sometimes they'll just sit and peck and peck and peck. Car mirrors is another good place.
Yes.
They send the light to sit on the side of the car and hit the mirror. And they're trying to run that bird off from its territory. The best way to stop this, and I've had this exact problem at my house, and we'll talk about the other way they're hitting windows in just a minute, but I just simply covered the window that's offending. We were talking earlier, I have a bedroom window that's wide, big glass, goes out to the back deck, and birds will come up and fight with it all the time, 2 times a year, mostly in the spring, and bluebirds were the main culprits, and they just drive us crazy. Crack of dawn, they're pecking like crazy on this glass and fluttering and flinging themselves
And
against
even,
it.
yeah, even the female. I
Yes.
found that surprising.
They have their little territory. This is
Yep.
their yard. They don't want the other birds there. They need this territory to raise their young. So I finally just took some cardboard and just cut out a square cardboard, put it right over, just like covering the whole window on the outside, put some duct tape at the top, one piece at the bottom, covered the view. They can't see the reflection. They don't hit the window.
Yeah.
After the mating season's kind of died
And-
down, I can take it off.
Yeah. Now this is a female, appears to be a female. So that's interesting. This was sent to us by Elaine Durham.
Yeah.
And this is at work. So I said, oh, you have to do something. And she said,
Yeah.
I'm at work. So cardboard could
Yeah,
do
oh,
it.
It has to be on the outside. Nothing you can do on the inside is going to
Yeah.
help, except for perhaps bright light shining
Yeah.
out. Because if you put anything on the window on the inside, it makes it more like a mirror. It makes it worse. So that you have to stop them from seeing that reflection on the outside. Sometimes walk out on your deck or where the
Yeah.
problem is, and just stand back and look at. Don't look through the glass into the bedroom or kitchen or whatever it is. Look at the glass.
Yeah.
And then you'll start saying, oh my goodness, you can see trees, you can see everything that's behind you, you can see your face. That's what the birds see.
Okay, so will they, though, actually hurt themselves with this behavior?
Unlikely.
Okay.
But it could happen because
Yeah.
they're not coming full speed into it.
Yeah.
They're pecking. I have seen some light bill damage, some light bleeding around a bill from a cardinal who had spent 2 or 3 days pecking on a window.
Okay.
I don't know that it did any long-term damage, and that's unusual.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they just do this for a while and they get tired and go away.
Yeah.
But it'll drive you crazy. Cover the outside of the window with something or put a mesh over it if you want to still need the view. Put a wire screen-like or
Yeah.
a cloth wire mesh on the outside. They can't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be as attracted to fight it.
Yeah. Such great video. I know a lot of people have that issue. So let's also talk about how do you get birds to nest in your yard? What's a good way or good things to do to get birds to nest?
Yeah. Let me mention the other thing real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The other way, the other reason they're hitting windows. And some people say, "Oh, my bird keeps hitting the window." No, they attack the window, and so they keep it repeatedly hitting it to drive off the predator. Sometimes they'll hit a window, which more often will result in the death of a bird. Is in full flight. They're looking at one of these glasses from the outside. They see a reflection. They don't see the color. They just see the trees that are behind them. and they fly thinking they're going right toward those trees, and they hit the window straight in,
Yeah.
full flight. That results in a fatality maybe 20% of the time. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's harder to prevent. One of the things you can do and should do is if you have a bird feeder, it's a lot of times that's what's causing it. They're on a bird feeder, something spooks them, they run toward the
Yeah.
opposite direction from the woods, right into what they think is the woods, which is a window.
Right.
So if you can't cover that, put a netting over that or a screen over that window so that when they hit it, it's softer
Yeah.
and much less likely to result in the death of a bird.
Yeah.
Also don't have your feeder 90 degrees out from that window. So when they turn to run from behind them, getting away from what they perceive as a threat, they're heading right to your window.
What
They hit
great-
it straight.
Yeah. Great information.
Put your feeders 45 degrees off to the side of your window. You can still see it, but if they head toward that reflection, they'll hit a glancing blow and not a direct blow.
Yes.
So
Good advice.
4 or 5 feet out from a window, directly out in front of a window is a bad place for a feeder.
Right.
Really close to the window's okay, because they can't get up speed to hurt themselves.
Okay.
They'll fly off to the side. But that 5 to 6, 7 foot range directly out 90 degrees off in front of a window is bad.
Right.
Give it more, the more angle you have, the better and it is for the birds.
Okay.
It'll
great.
save a few lives.
Good advice. And did you, I mean, we had something on here recently, there was a news report in New York City, all the new buildings have to be made with a material where the birds aren't seeing their reflection.
Yes,
I think that's amazing.
It is.
Fantastic.
It is. Yeah.
More
Use that
cities are
technology.
doing
Yeah, because people don't realize how many birds die hitting
Bird
these
strikes,
large
yeah.
glass-clad buildings, and
Yeah.
it's thousands and thousands and thousands of birds are killed every year. This,
Yeah.
and you don't see them because people go around and pick them up on the outside of the building before people come to work.
Right.
So. Good for them up there. I saw that. I was very
Yes.
happy to hear that. Hopefully that'll catch
Yeah.
on and we'll have a lot more of that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so let's talk about nesting now. What can we
some
do
good
to
stuff. Yeah.
bring the birds to our yards to nest? I know nesting boxes.
Yeah, if you have good vegetation around, medium-sized trees, like dogwoods and things like that, and then some larger trees, that gives the nest builders some areas to choose a place to build a nest. What we think of, we say, oh, we want to have a nest for the bird. There's a nest for the bird right there. It's a cement kind of thing shaped like an acorn, and that's for a cavity nester. All birds aren't cavity nesters. Robins build nests out on limbs. Bluebirds and chickadees, titmice, and other birds will go into a cavity,
Okay.
a hole, an old owl hole or something, and build a nest. And that's what we're used to when we say bird houses.
Yeah.
We put up something for that. And if you have those, you can add in your yard. So if you put 1 or 2 of those out in your yard, you've got a better chance of attracting a cavity nesting bird, whereas otherwise you probably won't get one. There's no place for them.
Now, what about this nesting box? What will that attract?
Bugs, wrens, curious things. I don't know. It's possible you could get a bird in that. I don't know the size of that hole.
Yeah.
If it's smaller than what a bluebird can get through, you might get a chickadee in it. That's a pretty small opening. The problem with that house is the hole is probably too small to get. A lot of the decorative houses, the holes are too small for bluebirds.
Now, this one that we were just seeing, that's a bluebird one, right?
Yes, I was not looking at it.
Oh, okay. Maybe Alex will put it back up. But I think, yes, this one, is that for bluebirds or no?
I can't get a perspective. That looks like it might be an owl box.
It's pretty
For a
deep.
screech owl.
Yeah, it's a pretty long box, so
And I
maybe
can't see the hole at the top, but I
Yeah.
would say my best guess is that's probably for a screech owl. So it's a good bit larger than about twice the size of a bluebird box.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so, hey, another great thing to put up, you may get an owl. I've had them in my yard before. It's really
Yeah.
nice. Once they get there, they'll probably come back year after year and nest.
Do you like to have the owls, though? Because aren't they predators for the birds?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Okay.
Especially screech owls are going to be mostly for small things on the ground,
Yeah.
bugs,
Yeah.
different kinds of insects, salamanders and things like
Yeah.
that they'll pick up, and rodents.
Yeah.
They're very good they're good mousers. So,
Yeah.
and the bigger owls could possibly be predators of a bird. I don't think there's much to that.
No. Okay,
I've
good.
never noticed it,
Good.
so they're
Yeah.
nice. They're just fun to have around.
So another thing is with nesting, should you have some plants nearby? Should you have some food nearby, some water, all the things that you want to do to attract the birds in the first place?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
So if you've got, the vegetation in your yard is more for cover,
Yeah.
not so much for food. So you want some places for them to hide and get away, some places to perch and view the nest. But you don't want them all around the nest. So just give them some places to get to. And I was looking here at this, and this right here is probably 5 feet from some bushes that the squirrel can't jump from, and they're 15 feet from trees and all, that they can come out and get right up to these places where there's cover for them. And that's the great purpose that the trees serve, is them, once they get into tree cover, an owl is going to have a hard time, an owl or a hawk is going to have a hard time catching them.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about the cold weather, and
Yeah.
we experience some cold down here in the south. So we're located near Atlanta, and just about everybody, like in the southeast, had some really cold weather. We can show some of the birds while Richard's telling about how do the birds adapt to the cold, especially if they live in Florida and these climates. I have to show you this. Look, this female cardinal is there. Oh, let's talk about this. Yes, tell us how the birds adapt.
It's in reality, they adapt over long periods of time, generation after generation after generation. Short bursts of weather changes are not going to change their behavior a whole lot. They just have to survive that episode. And down here in the south, the birds that aren't used to handling the severe cold and the long periods of snow cover would have a hard time if that happened down here and so it snows on the ground for 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, you would have a lot of problems with the birds here. But that doesn't happen down here. So they just get by, kind of like we do. Hey, we shut in for a while, hope the milk don't run out.
Exactly.
And you go back out when there's more, you can get around more. So yeah, you don't have to worry about them too much. They're here because they haven't all died off because of things like that.
Right, and look, some of the feeders even had you could
Yeah.
see the snow and the
Yeah.
ice covering up the food, but they managed to get to it, right?
And they're all here because all during their history, their predecessors have endured things like this and gotten through it. So they know
Yeah.
how, they know maybe they don't eat for a few days. They'll live.
Right.
In snow and stuff, they'll be able to get something to drink. So they just have to not eat for a while. Generally, this will not hurt the populations at all.
Yeah.
I've got pictures of hummingbirds on frozen feeders
Really?
with icicles everywhere.
Really?
And they're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to show, if Alex can show my computer. Look at this adorable picture. This is Kathy Desalette. She always enters our contest, and it's great. I love this little cardinal. It was mid-flight,
Yeah.
jumping up. It's so cold.
Looks like it's levitating.
Isn't that adorable?
It
It's got
is.
a little swing in her step. So many of you posted on our new group page, which is called the Lazy Birder. And so when we had the snow, I think that Kathy lives in North Carolina even. But look at all that snow. And they just, they're just sitting there looking like they're comfortable. Look how cute. Isn't that adorable? Ron Foltz took that. We really, our sons, I think, took this one. We've got some beautiful winter pictures. If you're not on the Lazy Birder community page, please join us. We had so much fun during that winter storm with all these pictures that you all sent us. They were fantastic. And so it's good to know the birds will adapt. They can, handle the cold. It's probably not what they like, but we all love to feed them and help them through.
Yeah.
And for those climates that's so cold, lots of suet. Is that what you would recommend? Suet kibbles,
Variety.
mealworms.
Yeah. You're talking about variety in food out in nature, but just
Yeah.
present them with a variety of foods. Like I said, the little suet kibbles, suet cakes, and then sunflower meats. Are great, and then some of the mixes of seeds are great, and several locations, several different kinds of food.
Yes.
And keep them clean and keep them filled,
Yes.
which is, I can't tell you how many times I've been in somebody's yard and there's a feeder and there's no food in it.
Right.
And it looks like it hasn't been any food in it in a long time, but,
You know what I love? I love businesses that put out bird feeders. There's a
Yeah.
Walgreens that I go to that's nearby, and they always have food in their feeders.
Yeah. We go to a restaurant occasionally that has a little yard area, and they
Yeah.
have a couple of feeders out there. It's just big
Yeah.
enough there by some water, and they keep coals in it all the time. We love
Oh,
it.
nice.
So somebody there is a real
Of
coals fan.
course.
So people are walking around, there's birds come in the feeders in
Yeah.
this restaurant area out there.
That's
So,
nice. That's always nice. So we want to remind you, a lot of you took pictures during the ice storm and the snow and everything, and that is great because our Kohl's calendar will be coming up soon. Our 2025 calendar is absolutely gorgeous,
It is.
and the
It
pictures
is.
turned out great. But we have that's the season we fall short in the
Yes.
most.
Yes.
The fewest pictures from the winter. And this year, we should have tons of great pictures. So I hope you'll hold on to those beautiful winter bird pictures because we will be announcing the details on that. And Kohl's is developing a new suet.
Yes.
you knew that.
I heard.
Yeah. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about that and how you can participate with us developing a new suet. Anything else you want to talk about, Richard?
Following on that theme, that's what we've done our entire history. We found the best way.
Yeah.
And the best way to feed the birds, the best food to feed the birds, and the best types of feed the birds. Like we don't use pesticides and chemicals and things like that in any of our seeds. And we are continuing that with our suet. We're like trying to just make it a little bit better than what it's been.
Yeah.
So,
And suet is such a great food
Yeah.
during the winter when the birds need that high energy, high calorie fats,
Yes.
right?
yes, and that's what the suet is for out there. You can get some sunflower meats has a little bit of fat in it.
Yeah.
But the millet and other seeds don't have as much fat content, and in really cold times, the suets provide that fat, which is calories.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really quick, we've only got 2 minutes left. Let's answer the question about why you shouldn't overfeed. You talked about that. Don't overfeed in your yard, and why not?
Yeah, it's two reasons. One, it's probably wasteful to what you're trying to accomplish, what you're putting out birdseed for. Attract birds so you can see them and enjoy them. And secondarily, you feel like you're really helping the birds, which you are. Okay? So, but if you put out too much food, you're throwing it on the ground, you're putting it on the railings, and then it's all on the ground, and it's just too much. Just keep your feeders clean, keep them filled. Don't ignore the feeders, but just fill up the feeders. And people on a budget, sometimes this can feel like it might be a little bit expensive, especially some of the really good seeds that really attract the birds. Put out just a little at a time.
Yeah.
Put it out every day at 10 in the morning or something, or 7 in the morning, whatever. The birds will learn when the
Right.
food's coming. And so it's
Yeah.
out by 2. It's okay,
Yeah.
If you want to keep them filled all the time, that's fine too. But don't just overdo it with seed food everywhere. Although we're saying that, and I'm sitting there with 3 feeders on the back porch. But that's not too much on that back porch.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of birds. That big log thing was a log with holes drilled in it with suet tapped in it. So I put that in there occasionally.
That looks so much fun. That has to be so much fun to have that many birds in your backyard.
And a good variety, and that comes back to having the food available in several locations, presenting it several ways, and several types of food. You'll get more of a variety.
Do they kind of know you and know when you're coming?
Yeah, yeah, they do. They'll learn. I mean, most of these animals do. I mean, you can have if people who feed deer sometimes they'll know about. Look like they check their watch. Oh yeah, she's gonna be
Yeah.
out here a little bit with the food. So they kind of know.
Yeah.
So if you feed now, I generally have food out 24/7.
Right.
So they don't have to worry. But I've had a feeder or two that I'll just put out. One of the kibble feeders, I'll only put it out once a day.
Yeah.
In that, and you don't see too many birds. Every now and then they'll hit it and leave, but the rest of the time it's like not much traffic. As soon as that food's in there, amazing, here they come
Right.
because they know what just happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so much fun. Well, thank you for joining us today. Richard is here every first Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock to answer your birding questions. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, this is Richard Cole. I want to thank each of you for watching, and I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share it.